and welcome to the Veterans Corner. The Veterans Corner is a show dedicated to the veterans, their families, and all those that support the veterans community. My name is Chuck Wooden. I'll be your host. We have a special guest tonight. Actually, we have a special guest every night. I like to think of all of our guests as special, and they are. But tonight we have someone that's going to talk about something that's near and dear to his heart. It's a topic that actually goes unnoticed quite a bit, doesn't it, Chair?
It gets forgotten.
Yeah, you know, it's Agent Orange, and we have Jerry Wright. He's a first sergeant, retired from the U.S. Army. I want to say thank you for your service on behalf of the Veterans Corner and the viewers. Thank you for your service, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, sir.
Jerry served in the 19th Combat Engineers from 1969 to 1970 in Vietnam. He is an Agent Orange survivor. He was inducted into the Connecticut Veterans Hall of Fame in 2014.
Okay.
That's another handshake. That's a major accomplishment.
Okay.
Congratulations for that. He's also a member of the following VSOs, and remember, that's the Veteran Service Organizations, the American Legion, VFW, VVA, which is the Vietnam Veterans Association, DAV, and Jerry's also a life member of all those organizations. And once again, it really is nice to have you here. This is a topic that is certainly going to be very informative to our viewers, and it's something like it's been avoided, as we said earlier. What is Agent Orange, Chair?
Agent Orange is the most dioxide chemical known to man. And I have the documentation right here that says if 3 ounces was dropped in the water supply of New York City, it would kill everybody overnight.
3 ounces?
3 ounces. This is from 1982, and this survey was done in Marietta, Ohio, and it said a pinch of dioxin would kill everybody in Marietta overnight.
Wow.
Okay? That's how toxic this is. 350 pounds of this dioxin was mixed with 10,000 gallons of water. I'm sorry, let me just verify that. 10 million gallons of water. 350 pounds. Then they'd mix it with diesel fuel. And they'd spray it down on because diesel fuel would stick to the plants.
Okay.
And would stick to the plants and would cause them to die. So we had elephant grass, jungle grass, vegetation that was so thick that we would walk into it and you couldn't see from here to the end of the table. And the Viet Cong would hide in there, and when you went by, they slip out behind you, and of course, assault you. So when this was sprayed, everything died in 2 days. Laid flat on the ground. And we go in there with bulldozers, we clear it up. Well, what if something's dead, there's a pollen that comes back up, and we were breathing this the whole time we were working. I got pictures of that and everything. And I sprayed off the back of a truck, on a 5-ton truck with a tanker, sprayed around our compound, and would spray around, everything would die. Snakes, monkeys, and I didn't see it, but the Mountain Yard people, which are the natives to Vietnam, the women would actually squat and abort their babies right in the road.
All caused by the Agent Orange?
By the Agent Orange. Agent Blue, Agent White, Agent Purple, and they'd mix them. When they'd actually said when they mixed with diesel fuel and Agent Orange and Agent White together, and they would spray the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which is heavy, heavy canopy, that it was 200 to 300% stronger than normal. And the Marines, and I've talked to quite a few up around Da Nang area, would stand there when the 123s would come in, the airplanes would come in to spray. And they go, oh my God, feel that cold water. And they'd stand there and these planes would come over and spray the dioxin because it's mixed with water, and it was cool water. And they'd stand there and they'd be soaked with it.
Not knowing.
Not knowing, you know. And so when I applied for Agent Orange disability in 1980, they said, well, is there a paper trail? I said, well, I was treated in a first aid station. We didn't have a paper trail. So I wrote to my platoon sergeant in North Carolina and I said, Sergeant Carter, can you send me a letter to the VA? Which he did. I sent Jerry, a bunch of these guys in to spray. I'm sick with it. All the other guys are sick with it. And one of my best friends has already passed away from it at 59 years old from Agent Orange. The Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, he died from Hodgkin's disease at 59. And it's a slow death. It stores in your fatty tissue of your body, and it comes out whenever. Could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 50 years.
See, a lot of us had no idea. I mean, that's all we've ever heard of was Agent Orange.
Right.
We didn't hear about the purple,
The white, the blue, the green.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard of that.
Yep. Well, that's Dow Chemical. They're the ones that made it. And Matesso. And there's a list of others, I don't have it in front of me, that also made that. And they're still using it today in certain places. Did you also know they used it in Korea? 1968, April of 68 until August of 71, they sprayed the DMZ with Agent Orange.
Wow.
So anybody that was stationed there during that time was also contaminated.
See, that's another thing, you know, we think it's just specific to Vietnam. And something else that I personally have learned, you know, didn't realize it was, you know, in Korea too.
And they sprayed up at Fort Drum. They sprayed at Camp Edwards. And Fort McClellan in Alabama is so contaminated today that the wild pig and the boar that's in that area that the locals would shoot and eat, they're so contaminated with dioxin they can't eat them. They have to put them in pits and burn them. Shoot them and put them in pits and burn them. And they found dioxin in tree bark 3 miles away. And this was stored in the 50s and 60s in Fort McClellan.
Wow. That's kind of leaves you speechless.
Well,
you know, these are a lot of things that the general public don't know about.
Wouldn't know it. A ballistic Googled Agent Orange and sat there for hours and months and weeks and studied it. It's just mind-boggling. It really is. When I have a story I'd like to tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
The C-123s would spray, and behind them would be Cobras flying on escorts.
And for the viewers that don't know what a Cobra is, it's the helicopters.
It's a helicopter. It would have miniguns on it, machine guns, and like this. And there's a fellow in Hebron that used to do that. And he said, when we get back from missions, we'd be drenched because we're flying through the clouds of this defoliant. We didn't know what it was, but our uniforms were drenched with water. He's so sick today.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. Well, the 123s were used, and in 1975, the government decided to sell them to whoever wanted to buy them. Good flyable airplanes. They were so contaminated with dioxin, they couldn't sell them, even after they cleaned them. And where did they clean them? In Guam. So everybody in Guam that thought they were safe from Agent Orange was decontaminating the planes without hazmat suits, without gloves, without masks. They didn't know. So they flew them out to Arizona and they put them in the boneyard in Yuma. 2009, they went out there to bring them out to sell them, and they're still so contaminated because how does the contamination grow? Through heat. That's how they made it stronger in Vietnam. They couldn't make it fast enough over the chemical companies, so they heated it. And they heated it and made it 25 to 30% stronger, okay? So they go in there and they were afraid Arizona was going to sue the government because the ground now was contaminated. So they sent salvage crews in and they scrapped the planes. And they scrapped them, because they're aluminum, in pieces as big as cell phones. Didn't tell them what was in it. So they scrapped them up into pieces and they put them in cubes and they sent them out and had them heated and burned to kill the dioxin. Came back and sold the scrap aluminum in 2,000-pound cubes to the car makers as recycled aluminum. Did not tell the salvage crews what was in there. And they dressed like us, Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay? They're all sick today. And I heard the reason they did that was because they didn't want, the government did not want to pay the flight crews that flew those planes and were sick from chloracne, from skin rash, from cancer, from heart disease, from neuropathy, from muscle loss. They didn't want to pay them the 100% disability for the rest of their lives. So they didn't tell anybody about it.
You know, the fact that I mean, just blocks of it for car makers. I mean, they just spread it everywhere.
Could be. And they say they sprayed 20 million gallons in Vietnam. That's what they said.
Yeah, you could probably double or triple that.
Could be. It's the best kept secret.
I was told, actually, it's somebody from this crew here at the Veterans Corner, Navy veteran who said that, you know, I mean, he was in that area, you know, offshore,
Yep.
and they were actually dumping it out into the ocean. I mean, and it was, you know, potential for contaminating, you know, obviously the waters.
The waters, of course.
And you've got all the, you know, the sailors out there.
Well, the ships would act, well, you think about it. This stuff is sprayed in the mountains, in the highlands, all over Vietnam, right? And I've got maps right to my right shoulder, is maps of the areas they sprayed.
It drains all into the ocean.
Drains into the ocean.
The rivers and straight
And the
out
ships
to sea.
recycle the water.
Exactly.
They run it through recycle, and they showered, they drink.
We drank that water.
You drank that water.
Wow.
Our own government is poisoning us. It's slowly killing us, and it's not fair. Did you hear about the parasite that we could have as Vietnam veterans?
No.
The VA made a quick blop on that about a year ago. If you ate raw fish, there's a good chance there's a parasite in that fish, and it's stored in your liver. It can come out anytime between a day to 50 years later. And when it does, you're dead in 30 days. They don't know how to cure it yet. They don't know how to fix it. So you have to stop and think of how many of us, me included, ate raw fish.
On a regular basis.
And we could be contaminated and not even know it. But they didn't tell us about that either. And now they're not even mentioning it anymore.
Yeah, it surprises me, but it doesn't surprise me. Haven't served myself, but not. I mean, I was too young for Vietnam, but
Yep.
it doesn't surprise me at all.
We hadn't even gotten into the burn pits, but that could be for the next segment.
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother show right there.
Yeah.
And the burn pits, just to touch on it briefly,
Yep.
Afghanistan, Iraq.
And my brother,
Yeah.
who's in Iraq, over in Balad in 2008.
Yeah.
My son-in-law, who's sick from it today.
Everything that they had, they would burn.
Everything.
You said even including bodies.
Yeah.
You know, you had talked about the planes. I believe there was other ways that it was dispersed.
Well, through helicopters.
Helicopters.
Yeah. And it was actually sprayed, actually through backpacks. So if we got into an area where they couldn't get in and fly in, the soldiers would go out and spray. And I don't know where it comes from. The Agent Orange comes from a 55-gallon barrel with an orange band around it. And that's how they knew it was Agent Orange. And I had no idea what it looked like.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a fellow tell me on my trip across the country that they would take those barrels and cut them in half, lengthways, and barbecue in them because they were clean barrels. There was no oil, no gas, no tar. And they cut them the other way, and that's what we use for our latrines.
So I mean, they
They were getting this one way or the other.
exposure everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. We would actually go down to, I was in Quy Nhon and Bong Song in that area in the rivers. We'd go in there, I get pictures of this too. We'd take our tanker trucks and go right out in the rivers and fill them up with water, bring them back to our base, dump some iodine in it, and we'd hang it into Lister bags, and that's what we showered in. It wasn't run through anything else. I don't know why they put iodine in it, but it made it black water. And that's what we showered, drank coffee, right out of the rivers.
You know, the Agent Orange and the blue and the white and the purple. I mean, I know we've got colors that are associated with that, but I mean, was it colorless or was it?
If it was sprayed with Agent Orange, it would be an orange dust.
Yeah.
Would come out. Yeah. Yep.
Because you had said that, you know, that they thought it was just water coming down on top of them. So
Especially mixed with diesel fuel.
there was a color to it.
Oh yeah, it would raise the concentration of the dioxin if they mixed diesel fuel with it, 200 to 300%. You think Roundup is bad when you spray it around your sidewalks and it kills all the plants? Can you imagine something 300 times stronger?
No. No. And products like that, I mean, within a day or two, the foliage is gone.
Well, there's some beautiful farms. Vietnam is actually a very beautiful country.
I've heard that.
And Armstrong Rubber had rubber tree plantations there. They raised tea leaves. I saw watermelons that were so big that you could barely carry one. Tomatoes be this big, corn ears this long. And we would eat that.
Not knowing.
Not knowing.
I mean, to this day, I mean, is it still in the soil? It's got to still be in the soil.
We have spent, according to the government and DOT, that $384 million as of last April, that we're over there cleaning up 3 sites right now: Cam Ranh Bay, Tan Son Nhut, and Da Nang. Okay, and hazmat suits, and masks, and gloves.
That answers my question right there.
And this stuff has leaked itself into the soil to the point it's made 3 million Vietnamese, either killed them or made them very ill. And the next generation of their kids are born without eyes, spinal bifida, no hands, no fingers. And the next generation is born the same way. To my understanding, is once you're contaminated with Agent Orange, half of it leaves in 7 years, your body. Half of it leaves in the next 7 years. Half of it leaves in the next 7 years. You can't live long enough to be
completely flush it out of your system.
And it's passed on through generation to generation.
And we were talking about the human toll of this, but we were talking before, earlier about the wildlife.
Oh.
I mean, they're pretty much dead within
a couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking tigers. There's some big deer over there.
Yeah.
I shot a deer over there, and I got pictures of it. Dragged it up, skinned it, barbecued it, and we ate it.
Not realizing that probably contaminated.
And the snakes. I mean, there's boa constrictors over there that are 18 foot long, and they taste pretty good on a grill too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all contaminated and all affected the same way, actually worse, if they're gone within a couple days.
Yep. Well, I was there from 69 to 70, and actually at the end of 69, went into Cambodia during the Cambodian push. We weren't supposed to be there either.
Yeah. And
it looked like a moon. Everything was, if the B-52 bombers didn't get rid of it, apparently they defoliated it because there was nothing. And we would drive in and haul in broken down equipment and bring it back out, and was caught in there past my ETS date for a week before they finally sent the first cab in to get us out. Yep. And we'd lived right off the land.
One of the questions, was lasting effects. We already covered that. I mean, there's, it's amazing. Once again, it kind of leaves you speechless. Some of this stuff is the first time I've heard it. I know how bad it was, but.
Well, Chuck, I just did a cross-country trip on a 2007 orange Honda Goldwing with a trailer sprayed and betrayed.
Yeah.
But 10,357 miles, 32 states, talking to veterans, the Legion Post, and I've yet to ever talk to anybody that did not know or knew somebody that had Agent Orange or had died from it.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you're talking about your motorcycle trip. I know we've spoke about this. We figured tonight was a great great introduction, for the viewers,
right,
as to what Agent Orange was. It's once again learned something new. Purple, white, the blue. But what we're going to do is in the future, very near future, I'd like to have you come on and discuss about your trip. I mean, that's going to be actually we'll do a two-parter on that, because I'm sure you have some stories. Traveling, was it 32 states? 10,000 miles. I mean, we could do probably 2 shows just on your travels and the people that you met.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who's involved, the Vietnam veterans, know of Hal Moore, and Hal Moore was with the first cav. He took like 600 and some, the first cav over to Vietnam, came home with less than 300. Wow. The men that were killed, and I met his sergeant in Deadwood, South Dakota, at a little restaurant. His name is Harry. And we sat and talked for quite a while. And he was wounded 4 times, spent 4 tours in Vietnam. And it's just...
Here you got a couple veterans who never met before, but it's like you've known each other all your whole life.
All whole life, yeah.
Now, obviously all the exposure, what illnesses actually accrued from being exposed? I mean, what are some of the things?
Well, there's 15 that the VA says we could presumptively have. 3 of those have end dates. And that's what made me do the trip was end dates mean that within a year of separation and given a 10% disability. But they didn't tell us about it for 9 years. Okay? So, and I never heard about it. And they said, well, Jerry, you need a paper trail. Well, how could I have a paper trail on something I didn't know about?
Yeah.
And I was treated in a first aid station for my skin rashes and my chloracne. It was never documented. And every Vietnam veteran I talked to was the same way. So that's where the VA gets out of paying us for a disability if it makes it so we can't work. Neuropathy, heart disease, cancer. It's like 35 cancers, for crying out loud, that's associated with Agent Orange.
Wow.
Okay? And so that's what I'm trying to get across to everybody now is that we need to have Congress eliminate those end dates.
Yeah.
And you can follow that on Sprayed and Betrayed AO, which is my Facebook page.
What was it again for the viewers?
Sprayed and Betrayed AO for Agent Orange.
Yeah.
And my whole trip from May 2nd right to the middle of June is on there. And oh gosh, I could tell you some stories.
It was, I remember following you, when,
thank you.
When you did make the trip.
Yeah.
Vinny from Berlin, he told me about you and what you were doing, and I immediately thought, and I know he did too, that it would be a great venue here to get the word out.
Yeah.
On the Veterans Corner.
Well, I didn't want to do it in a car or a pickup truck.
Yeah.
You pull into a rest area, you're just another guy in a car to pick up. But you pull in there with an orange gold wing with a trail that says Sprayed and Betrayed.
Yeah.
I was killed in Vietnam but haven't died yet.
Yeah.
Okay?
It gets their attention.
It gets their attention, and they come over, and they sign the petition, which is what I'm trying to get as many signatures as I can to take to Congress sometime later in the fall.
Yeah. You yourself, I mean, what illnesses? I mean, you were exposed, obviously.
Yes.
How? We just mentioned a long list of ways that you were probably exposed. Is there any ways that you know for a fact that you were exposed?
Well, the VA told me I have ischemic heart disease, and I got a 30% rating for that, which left me to sell my business 3 years earlier than I had planned on because I couldn't physically do it, and have muscle loss. I ripped the muscles off both shoulders. They're gone. Neuropathy so bad that my feet swell up when I was on the motorcycle for 3 weeks. I thought I was going to have to come home. I've had cortisone shots in my hands, and but I'm still here.
Yeah. We're
dying at the rate of 380 a day, the Vietnam veteran. Okay, that's 140,000 a year out of 2.2 million. Now, they say 9 million of us served during the Vietnam era.
Yeah.
2.2 over in Vietnam. I'm the last third. At the rate we're dying, which is faster than the World War II and Korean vets put together, we'll be gone in 7 years. By 2025, we'll be gone. And I turned 70 4 weeks ago. So I'm going to raise heck, I'm going to live it up now.
You know what? There's a reason why you're here. The mission that you're on right now. Like I said, I followed you. I watched on Facebook. The places that you went to, and we'll talk about it. Actually, we've got only about 5 minutes left.
Yep.
But I'd like to get to maybe the House bill that
Okay.
that you've been fighting for.
Yep, that was put together last Wednesday night at the last minute, and it's HR 6566, Agent Orange Exposure Fairness Act of 2018. That will carry with it forever. The House number, which is HR 6566, will go away in January, and a new number will be issued at that time. And I want to thank Congressman Courtney for that. He's been awesome putting that together for us. His office down in Washington, D.C., Gabe worked day and night with attorneys. And we now have a House bill, so now we just need co-sponsors.
Well, you know, you thank him, but I think what the viewers need to know, they need to thank you because of all your effort, your dedication. You didn't stop, and you're continuing. And that's you know, you're here today. And you know, on a perfect venue to get the word out.
Thank you.
And I know in the future, I really want to have you back a number of times. We're definitely going to have you back in the fall rotation to talk about your trip.
Okay.
That would be, I mean, I'm sure you got some fantastic stories. You know, some of the people that you met. Has the VA been any help to the veterans with the treatment? Actually, we've already covered that.
Well, they have been.
Have they?
More so the last couple of years. I think with the change of administration has helped that. With the skin rash and the chloracne, when I went to dermatology at the VA, and I won't say which one, and I asked the dermatologist, is this related to Agent Orange? She said, we're not allowed to talk about it. Remember, the VA, the doctors, and the APRNs work for the government. If I went to an outside source dermatologist, then they would say something different.
You would have got a straight answer.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is that they're just waiting for us to go away. And that could happen. But
well, I mean, it's one of the questions that I think I had was, what, you know, you might have covered it. This has been an extremely informative show. When did the government start? Was it 68? They started using it?
1949.
1949.
Oh yeah. Oh no, they actually 49.
What am I saying? 60? I was thinking of something else.
Yeah, into where they had the explosion in one of the plants that contaminated everybody in town. In 53, they had another explosion in the plant that contaminated everybody in town. They actually used this in Thailand too. Not only Vietnam, it was sprayed in Thailand as well. They don't like to tell you about that either. And so it was probably the South Vietnamese government came to our government, I believe it was 1964, and asked if they would use this to get rid of the defoliant.
I hate to cut you off. I'm getting word from the control room that we ran out of time.
Okay.
But it was great to have you. It really was, Jerry.
Thanks, Chuck.
It was very informative. That's about all the time we have. I want to thank the guests for being here today. Jerry, I want to thank you, the viewers, for joining us. And stay tuned for more stories from Jerry Wright. And you know, look at his Facebook page. You'll learn a lot. And look up Agent Orange. I think we've all learned an awful lot today. My name's Chuck Wooden. I'm your host, and I will see you next time on the Veterans Corner.